Okay, so we're recording. Good evening, everybody. It's your boy, Leroy McKenzie Jr., coming to you tonight. Y'all know what it is. It's the third Monday, and that means it's the brand new development series brought to you by Black Professional Men and JNF Enterprises. So we want to welcome you. We're going to be here just for a small period of time for about an hour. And tonight, I have a phenomenal young man that's going to be coming on to you all. That's going to just take you all in. We're going to be talking about entrepreneurship. We're going to be talking about being a musician. We're going to be talking about manhood and leadership. So we have a great show, great podcast for this evening, scheduled for you all this evening. So we want you all to sit up, not sit back, but sit up, listen in, and join in. If you have any questions, there's in the chat area. Don't hesitate to put them in. We want you to be able to ask any questions of me, ask them of our guests that's going to be coming on in just a couple of minutes, because we want you to be involved in this. Y'all know how we do. We're trying to make us better as men, develop us as men, develop us as women. For those women that may be listening or joining in and tuning in, to gain understanding, to gain growth. Development. Y'all know what we do. We enlighten, we empower, and we impact. We want to teach you something. We want to equip you with something, and then we want to impact you to want to do something. And that's what we're all about. That's what Black Professional Men is about, with the securing the future of the African American male. And we do that by giving you shows like this, by giving you information that is powerful, that is empowering, that pours into the community, that gives the community a way of being better, doing better, and wanting to be better. So those are the things that we do. That's how we do. So we're going to get started. And tonight we have a special guest, and he is none other than Pastor Stephen Turner. And I'm going to say how he has it on his Facebook, Stephen Music Man Turner. Because he is not only a pastor, he's also a master musician, but he's also a radio host. He's also just a leader in the community. And I thought it not a bad idea to have this powerful, impactful man of God come in and talk to us tonight. Like I said, talk about entrepreneurship, talk about leadership, talk about manhood, and talking about being a musician and all of those great things. So we're going to get started, and I want to bring him in. I want you to, Pastor, if you could just introduce yourself to the audience tonight. Tell them just a little bit. Tell them something about. Tell them some things about you, because I don't want to read your resume. Excuse me. I don't want to read your resume. I want them to feel your resume and to know who you are from a personal perspective. So you can go right ahead, and if you could introduce yourself to the people.
Well, God bless you, sir. I'm happy to be here. God bless you. Pastor Steve Turner, a product of Baltimore, West Side. I actually grew up on Warburg Avenue. Can't get no more real than that. Warburg Avenue and Edgewood Elementary. Yeah. And so, matter of fact, I think I was the first latchkey kid. Had a key around my neck and let myself in because Mama worked a lot. So I kind of grew up as an only child, and I had to become very inventive because I spent a lot of time by myself. So I think at age 4, they started a program in school at Edgewood to bring music in. And I started to play the drums. I liked, but I didn't know I was worrying my mother because I was beating on everything in the house. Boom, boom, boom. Highly upset. And so one day she called me downstairs, and by the time I got to the edge of the steps, she stood up on the other step and said, "Would you like to learn how to play the keyboard?" And I was thinking to myself, she's bigger than me. She's tall. She's driving. She's fixing all the food. And I see it.
Right.
I see a well-dressed man standing to my left on the other side by the baby grand piano. So maybe this is a clue that this is what it's all about. So I took, his name was Clarence Bingham, and he's long gone now, but I salute his memory. He
Okay.
was my, since I grew up in a fatherless home, he was my impression of a strong black man.
Oh,
He was
awesome.
never late. He was always dressed in a shirt and tie, and he was very respectful of my home and my mama. And so I got positive feedback from him. And I took classical music for 11 years.
Before you go any further, is that where you get? Let me tell you. Every time I see this man, he is always sharply dressed. Is that where you got your being always being dressed to the nines from? Was from the gentleman there that you just?
No, he helped to put the icing on the cake, but it was my mama who dressed me in shirts and ties in elementary school. That got me in a lot of trouble because I went to, like I said, Edgewood. You know, we were in the hood. So,
I know, right?
Opening day, you stand outside with or you know, for your classmates before you go into school. They're looking at me like, "Oh, you think he's special?" I'm like, "No, mama." But she would say, and I used to even try that stuff where you go out the door dressed with your shirt and tie, and then take it off later and try that. That didn't work either because you know she had spies everywhere. But it was trying to set me on the tone of being professional in business. So I wore dress shoes so much and dress pants and all that, and I know how to run dress shoes. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, I forgot. In the musical aspect, my mama had a choir at the church we grew up in. First for about 46 years, and all my aunt and uncle sang on the choir. And I think I was on the choir at age 6. Little fat, portly kid, standing there with all the older women. And then I grew up as a teenager and all that. And then I got my first solo, because I also sang too, I didn't tell you that. I got my first solo, not because I wanted to, because they volunteered me. And, you know, I didn't want that at all, but that's what it was. So she would send me out to represent the choir doing Sunday afternoon services at other churches around the city. And she would say, take this money, give it to the auxiliary head, and, you know, tell her we couldn't make it. You're going to sing 2 songs on our behalf. I'm like, do I get a choice in this? No, absolutely not.
Right.
Training, I mean, in the duplex action of music, integrity, and also business. Because I give a lot of credit to her. She had the first bus trips in the city, the first church banquets, and I would sometimes be the person who went in and, you know, she'd drive to the Midway bus company and give me the money and told me to go up there and secure the contract and bring her receipt back. So then the drive, I began to go and do it on my own. So, you know, under heavy direction. So once I started playing for a lot of quartet groups like the Bells of Joy and playing for a lot of churches, and she said, I don't care how many churches you play for, where you go, but you better be back here at the church at 9 p.m. for our radio broadcast to be with this choir. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
And I'm like, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So my first dose of, I call it paramilitary. So,
yeah. Now that's awesome. Now, question for you. Now, you talked about being interested in music from a very young, age, and then kind of your mother not just nurturing you, but nudging you into becoming a musician and everything like that. I mean, and I know that our parents play a part in, kind of the things that we do or don't do when we're younger. Was that something that I know she kind of told you that you would do that, but were there other things that you were interested in that you felt like you wanted to do, but because of what your mother had told you that you kind of didn't do?
Well, I was interested in a lot of things that, young kids at my age, sports and girls, things that nature. And so I recall all my buddies would be outside playing. They ask, they would come to the door and I'd ring the bell. Mr. Can Steve come out and play? And she would normally like, no, he's practicing.
So that reminds me of the movie. That reminds me of the movie Mo Better Blues, when the main character Bleak, when he was a little boy and he was practicing his trumpet. And I don't know if you remember the scene where the little boys are outside, Bleak, 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 Bleak. And the mother comes to the window and they were like, Can Bleak come out and play? She says, no, he's practicing.
Taking a page out there, I'm telling you. Hey, look, this is funny. This is funny. One day they came and they begged her to the point where she said, okay, I'll let her come out. And I was like, yeah. So, but she warned me. She said, if you go out, you will practice when you come back in. And I was like, yes, ma'am. I was saying, yes, ma'am, so I can get outside. We out there playing, skating, everyone. And I came back in. She fixed dinner, watched TV. I got in bed and going to sleep to go to school tomorrow, the next day. And she came and woke me up and said, come down here. I'm like, ma'am, half asleep. She said, what'd you forget to do? I said, I did everything I was supposed to do, Mama. She said, you forgot. What did you promise me you were going to do? Yeah. And I'm like, she said, you going to go to that piano and pray? I'm like, oh, come on. And she said, whatever you promise, you must deliver one. So I'm practicing. I was mad. Man, I tell you.
Yeah, but and that's it's funny you say that, because that makes me think of my dad, and just how he was that same kind of person where he, if there were things, and now we look at it and we can understand it. We see that they were life lessons. But when we think about it at that time, we think that they're being mean, that they're being just unreasonable and everything like that, because he was that way with me with basketball. Just to give you a quick story, I'm playing. My dad was my high school basketball coach for my freshman and sophomore year. So I go out for the team, and I'm the coach's son. So, so folks are probably, they expected me to make the team and whatever and stuff. So we get ready to start the season and stuff like that. And I knew I was better than the boy that was in front of me, or that was competing with me for the point guard position. Right. So, we competing and everything like that. And my dad starts him over me. So I'm hot. I'm mad because I'm like, I know I'm better than this guy. I know I'm better than him. And even the other guys on the team were like that. They were like, well, why is he starting over you and everything like that? I'm like, I don't know. So, as well as I do, you didn't ask your parents about you didn't approach them about certain things. So, exactly, because you might not survive the 2 words that might get out your mouth when you go to ask a question. And my dad was like that. So I finally, I got up the nerve to ask my dad. I'm like, because a couple games in, maybe like the second game in or something like that, he puts me in, and I wound up starting from that point forward. So sometime, like I said, a little bit after that, when I got up the nerve to be able to ask him, I said, Dad, how come you didn't start me from the beginning of the season, versus, putting me, eventually starting me and stuff like that. He said, let me tell you something. He said, I knew you were better than him. He said, and you knew you were better than him. He said, but what I did not want anyone to think that because you were my son, I was giving you something. I was just going to give it to you. And he wanted everybody else to know that I earned that spot, and that I wasn't just given it because of who I was. And I've taken that lesson throughout my whole life, because he's taught me that nobody owes you anything. He told me that. He said, nobody owes you anything. He said, even him and my mother, we don't owe you anything, and no one's going to give you anything. So you have to work for any and everything that you get in this life. So, so when you talked about your mom doing that and keeping your, her making you keep your promise, those are the life lessons that our parents give to us, that we look back now and we see them as life lessons and everything like that. But it was part of our discipline and the things that I believe we carry. I know I carried through my life, and I'm quite sure that you carried on through your life, especially with you being a musician. There were days, I'm sure, that you didn't feel like practicing, and even now you don't feel, you
No,
weren't feeling like practicing, but
no, no.
that little voice in the back of your head, is telling you, you promised that you were going to practice,
Yep, that's right. And are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Absolutely.
Okay. And also, because of the legacy, I have when they say, what's your sister Charlotte's son, your aunts and uncles have singing groups and all that. So they're expecting a certain level of, And now in 1994, while leaving a job, I won't say which job, as a sales rep, it wasn't working out. I was mad. It didn't work out. And I parked on the parking lot on York Road for many days, and I saw a sign that didn't have any relevance all along, but this day it did. It said,
okay,
thousands cards for $9.99, like Moses burning bush. And I looked in my pocket because I was going to take my last $10 and go eat Popeye's chicken. And that's it. So I said, the sign is talking to me. He's talking to me. He's talking to me. And so I looked in the pocket. I found $10. I said, what should I do with this? I said, go in there and get some cards. So I went there and I got the cards. And so man asked me, what are you going to name your business? I had no idea because I hadn't thought about it.
Right.
I think it was Ministry of Music. And I recall when I was first married that I was in the middle of an argument when the phone rang. And I said, please, my God, let me get the phone. And I got the phone as a pastor. And is this the Ministry of Music? And I said, yes. He said, can you come out and play and bring your keyboard and we'll actually pay you? I'm like, what? Good. And he's just fantastic. So that's how it started. And it evolved, 1994, it evolved into what I was trying to do, since people don't understand, I was trying to do, since I came out of the HR world and the sales world and dealing with white America, corporate America, I was trying to actually start a HR temp agency out of the musicians on call or doing the on call in that respect. Until I found out how much insurance it would cost, because musicians are crazy. Like that. Like I can't do that. So I would try to negotiate. I was with another friend of mine, Ulysses Archie, who was trying to do something, Musicians Bank, and we were trying to negotiate for the artists and do some things. And I fit in with my artist entrepreneurship activism for artists. And so when that, kind of worked out a little bit, but later on it evolved into what's today is the on-call organist, which is a part of Praise Unlimited Ministries, which is a micro enterprise, which I've had since 1994. And under that is something we're going to talk about eventually, is Stephen Turner Ministries, which is the other side, on the literary side and MC side, because I developed into doing MC work since I was trying to introduce my artists. And I think one time at Mondawmin, the DJ, radio person, Randy Dennis, I think it was, he was going to introduce an artist I had. And I liked the way he was doing it because he's in the R&B world. And I said, sir, let me introduce my own artist, if you don't mind. He said, okay. And so, I did it that way. And we've had some different programs, outreaches in different places. Popeyes, we actually had a gospel artist review for 3 straight months with my band, Praise Christian Jazz Band. We started with 1 month, then we got to the second month. And then finally, they gave us 4 hours being outside in front of these Popeyes and Woodlawn. And I said, I need more artists than this, so we brought in more people. And some folks thought they were losing their mind. I think I hear gospel music between the driveway and Rolling Road. Yes, there is. And so that was a faith move right there, because it was supposed to rain, and the clouds were really foggy. And I had found a young prodigy drummer, and his father drove him up in an SUV. He said, "You still having this event today? Because they forecasting rain, and it looks like it'll rain any moment." I said, "Sir, God has promised me that He will not send a drop until we're through." He said, "You got that kind of stupid faith, that I'm with you." So he came out, and we for the 4 hours we were out there, we were singing and praise dancing and having church outside, to the point where when we finished, as soon as we finished and put the synthesizer in the trunk, then came the rain.
Let me ask you this. Now, I know you started playing at an early age. When did you know that you were good at playing? Now tell me. I know you said you played the keyboards, or you play the piano, but you started off on the drums. Are there any other instruments that you play other than the drum and the piano? Because I'm gonna tell you a funny story about that when you finish.
Okay. Actually, I play organ, I play piano, and I play synthesizer, and that's all I do.
Okay. Now, when did you know you were good at that? When did you realize, wow, this is something that I can do for real?
Probably when I was playing for a church for about 14 years, and one of the guys they brought in to basically be ahead of me asked me how much I got paid, and I told him. He's like, "Oh my God, that's an insult." I said, "You're better than I was when I started." So he gave me my first referral to a church. It was called Dalton Baptist Church, and I shout out to Aggie Brown Sr., Bishop Aggie Brown Sr., and they actually paid me more in one day than I got for the whole month that I was there. And I started thinking, I think maybe I'm getting kind of good. However, my mama would bring me back down to earth. And I put it in an article, I think, in the Afro, and I'll send it to you. It said that people call me at the last minute for a lot of engagements. And she says, "Well, don't get your head all puffed up. If people are calling you at the last minute, if they call you last minute, you weren't their first church."
Right, okay? Right, exactly.
You ain't all right. That's a
good one. Like, all right, well, let's call him. I know he's still available. So, and it's funny. It's interesting, and I don't know if I ever told you this, but growing up, I played the snare drums, I played the piano, and I played the trumpet. I mean, the trumpet, the piano, and the snare drums. And
I never knew.
Yeah, and I never stuck with them. And my mom and we talk about this all the time, because I took lessons not only at the school that I attended when I was in elementary and middle school, because it was a private school, and I took piano lessons. But our Aunt Clara, she played the piano and the organ and everything, and we took lessons. Me and my two sisters, all three of us took piano lessons from her. And my older sister played the clarinet and I want to say the flute. And my younger sister, I think she played the flute as well. But I always tell my mother that the one thing that I wish that I had stayed with, and that I wish to this day that I could play, is the piano. Every time I see someone playing the piano, or you see these great musicians playing the piano, because I watch like a John Legend or Alicia Keys or a Rochelle Farrell, Prince, them playing the piano, or even, when you watch stuff and you have these great piano players, it's always the one thing that I wish I had stayed with, and that I could play to this day, because I love the piano. So that's why I kind of asked you. What made you?
It still happens.
What made you stay with it?
It was fear. Fear of being.
Right. I understand that.
But
now, just talk a little bit about the discipline that it takes in order to be able to become a good musician, about reading music and, being able to read music and to be able to write music. Because you write music as well, correct?
yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir, I do. And I do have a CD out.
Right. Absolutely. Talk a little bit about that too. Yeah, go ahead.
I was one of those late bloomers. But I had played for everybody else's CD, the Angelettes and the Bells of Joy and so many different, folks that I think one of the radio reps from Hammer 600 asked me, well, when are you going to do something for, yourself? Oh, yeah, I get around. It's so expensive. And blah, blah, blah. He said, that's not what I'm asking. When are you, so I was without any excuse. So I just waited, and I've written songs, and I wrote love songs first and all that. And then that's how I guess I got my wife. Wrote her love songs there. And she was melting. I feel guilty because I wrote songs to love, but I didn't write God songs. Oh my goodness!
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So I got to do something with, and so it evolved into jingles and things of that nature. But
okay.
The CD is called Restoration 2017, and that actually shows my other side. I have another alias. Like you do, you're a gangster, but my alias is Lamar, which is my middle name.
Okay.
And so that CD is actually still out at Amazon and YouTube and all other things. And eventually go back and probably do another one, God willing. But my mother actually challenged me one day and told me that I wasn't good enough to sing solos.
Okay.
And I remember her saying that to me because I had to do it at a church. So I got mad. How dare you tell them? Not with her now. I mean, I couldn't tell you. It was in my mind, You better keep it in your mind, not in your mouth. So I went. I asked God for help. Went out, sung the solo, tore the house down, taped it, not necessarily in order, and brought it back. And I came back in. I said, Mom, I got something I want you to check out. And what is it? I played it without telling her who it was. She's like, oh, that's really great. That's fantastic. I said, that's your son who you didn't believe. So, I can do all things with Christ that strengthened me. So, but eventually, like I said, I had to write songs for my band because I ended up having to do all the lead, which I didn't really want to do. And that's my problem with the church to play for, which I'm playing for, helping the church now. If I start singing and show them how it is, then they'll say, okay, well, you can go ahead and sing it. Oh, no, I'm not here to sing every song, sir. Ma'am, I'm here to help you develop, so those, you can't do everything. You can't do it all the time when you're trying to teach. And that's my main thing. Right.
Now tell me a little bit, and let's transition to talk a little bit about the entrepreneurship side of the music. Now, when did you start to say, you know what, hey, what made you want to have your own, do your own thing versus working with, let's say a group of people or a group of people, or working with, I don't know what there is that that musicians do in order to be able to kind of form a group and stuff like that. I know you said you played for a couple of groups and stuff like that, but how did you transition from just being that organist that played to saying, you know what, I want to have my own business. I want to be able to be an entrepreneur. Where'd you get that entrepreneurship spirit from?
I got that from my mom because as the president of the radio chorus, they were doing things which were unheard of back in that time. Like I said, she did the church banquets, and she did bus trips to Atlantic City and Wildwood, New Jersey, which was never heard of before. We were the only black people a lot of times up there in Wildwood, New Jersey. White folks are going to be like, what in the world has this happened here? So she's very futuristic minded. So
Okay.
training me in business and all that, and that's who I give that credit to. She said, I don't care if you're nothing but a street sweeper, but be the best street sweeper you can be.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
so she said, here's another thing. If you promise somebody you're going to play the organ, be there to play the organ, because an empty organ can't do anyone any good.
Absolutely.
So you
Absolutely.
play Liberace or Beethoven, but if you're unreliable, that's not good. I also want to give credit to Ray Haysburg, in his memory. I was a part of the EDGE program, Entrepreneur Development, and I sat in classes where he personally trained us in every aspect of entrepreneurship.
Okay.
And I still have a certificate on my wall. 9 weeks of brutality, sir. 9 weeks of intense brutality.
Well, you and I both know that entrepreneurship is not easy. It's not for everybody. So yes, I totally understand that.
Yeah. I've seen him. And Wanda Williams send a man out crying when it came to time for the loan proposal.
Uh-huh.
So and then I've also had jobs that dealt with developing creative ideas, so that kind of all flowed together. I used to work for the mayor's office under Gerald Grimes, and I don't know if you remember an entrepreneur named LeVan Hawkins, Urban City Foods.
Absolutely, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Here in Baltimore, on the chain of the Burger Kings and several other type of businesses and stuff too.
Started Checkers, and I think on my 9th day at work, I was sitting around at my desk. Be careful what you ask for. And I said, Mr. Grimes, I have to quit this job. I'm going to turn in my resignation. He said, how can you quit? We just got here. I said, well, my father hadn't trained me, and I was just sitting here collecting a free check. And I wasn't raised to collect free money. I got to earn mine. He said, hold on a second. I'll be down there. So he came down. He said, come with me. And I came in. He said, sit in this corporate office, in this corporate boardroom. And I sat there obediently. And then the room opened up, and all these powerful, well-dressed black folk from Atlanta, they came in, and he said, I present to you your new account executive. So I was looking around like, and so, and then that's when they introduced themselves. We're from LeVan Hawkins Urban City Foods. And I had no idea. And the person I was working with only been there 30 days. He said, well, we don't know nothing together. We'll just learn together. So my job was to direct hire and customize train all the stores between Burger King and Checkers in Baltimore City, and still do my work.
Oh wow! And see, I never knew that. I never knew that about you. See, that's awesome. That's a great story, because LeVan Hawkins, maybe 15, 20 years ago, he was one of the big honchos here in Baltimore as far as business owners go. So that's that's a great that was great. I don't know if you consider him to be one of your mentors, in business, and being able to, kind of gain a little bit of business experience from what you gained from being in that environment with him and everything like that. But, but that's awesome.
I tell you, it was a great understanding. I was so busy trying to find quality people to hire, especially because one of my roles also there was to try to, which I didn't tell my boss. He's retired now. Hopefully, he won't see this broadcast. But a lot of times I would talk to the employer, and I would try to negotiate the salary say if he offered $7, I would try to say, now people can't survive on that. Now you want me to help you. Now you got to do something better. Now can't you do that $9.50? $9.50, Mr. Attorney, you're killing me. I can do $8.50. Come on, sir. Come on. These people need work, and it's supporting their family. Can't you do $9? All right, do $9. I didn't tell him that.
See.
So, I would say that I said to one particular client who had an issue. I'll never forget it. She had 3 kids, and she had a boyfriend or some baby father or something. He'd come by once a month, and so I started to say, hey, that's not really good for you. I'm trying to give you this job. You can make a lot more money. And you could get this amount of money, really, real large. And does he owe anything? Like, is he paying child support? No, he's not. If you add the child support he owes, you can get this kind of money. This would be $2,500 a month. In addition to compared to what you got now, you only see him like once a month. He comes by, he stays for 2 or 3 days, and that's it. He started laughing all his. Well, we're common law married. You are? Well, hold on a second. Let me see. I don't think they recognize that. And I put it on speakerphone. And I called down the courthouse and they said, we don't recognize common law marriage. If she's so stupid, and I was trying to get to take it off the speaker, but she got the message. And so finally one day I was with some more clients and in my cubicle, and this woman walked in looking fashionabulous, and her hair did and everything, glasses and a new outfit. And I said, ma'am, we're not hiring today. Is everything okay? She said, Mr. Turner, it's me. So I said, you? Yes, I took your advice. And I said, everybody out. Come back later. Tell me all about it. Yeah, I took the job. I just wanted to tell you I took the job, and I wanted to give you when I started. And I took him downtown with child support. And my kids are happy, and I'm happy. I said, how you feel? We're large, ain't you?
Wow.
But I liked it because I remember my mother struggling as a single parent and a black woman. And I promised myself I've never seen another black woman struggle in this respect. And so I felt I owed the obligation. Yeah.
Wow. And see, those are the things that I think that as entrepreneurs, I know for me, when you're in a position like that, and even though you were working for someone, but you were still doing those leadership things, you were still doing those entrepreneurship things, you changed that woman's life. You changed that woman's life by pouring into her something that she wasn't even probably thinking about until you planted that seed into her. And we have to understand as entrepreneurs, and even with your music, and I know that you feel this way too. We'll take this real quick, and then we're going to get into the last part of the manhood. We're going to talk a little bit about your books and the book signing that you have coming up this coming Saturday. But how you're able to affect people's lives, being an entrepreneur, being a musician. Talk a little bit about that and how that makes you feel when people talk to you or come up to you after a service or after you've been playing and say how their music has touched you, or how you putting that seed like you did in that young lady's life, how that makes you feel.
Well, it makes you feel, when you hear it, it makes you feel like you are worth the while, that God is still using you, even when you're old, great. So, and so, I'll answer that question in a different way. I remember, here's another part you didn't know. I used to be a Baltimore City police officer. Did you know that?
Yeah, I knew that.
Oh, okay, well, okay.
I remember you mentioning that.
Okay. Here's a part where entrepreneurship can get you in trouble. Their policy is that if you're out of the academy, that you have to survive on your own, sink or swim, die, ride or die. That's it.
Okay.
I didn't believe that. I believe that I could see myself cruising for trouble, because I was saying that perhaps we shouldn't wear white shirts, we should wear dark shirts, so that the people couldn't see us coming. And they laughed at me. Why do we have to keep driving Chevys and Fords? We should have other types of cars so we can sneak up on people. And they thought I was crazy. So they had all 8 brand new releases from the academy. And I said, well, I don't want somebody coming to the door and trying to protect my life and know nothing. I need to give them what I know, at least, so they can have a fighting chance. We both can get out of line. Right. I took them out. In Washington, Sandtown, Pennsylvania, Bloom Street, and they were all out of service. I didn't know that. To stand around, and I'm telling them as much information as possible to train them as much as possible on all that I knew. And so the broadcaster asked the question, "Where's everyone? Everybody's out of service. Where are y'all at?" So the one of the officers said, "We're all out here on Pennsylvania Bloom Street. What are y'all doing out of service all at one time? We're being trained by Officer Turner." Well, yeah, I can tell you that didn't go well. And so I was commanded to come back in, and I didn't have little hair, and what little hair I did have was standing on the edge of my. So entrepreneurship is good when it is valued, when people want it, and it can not for this, not for the weak, because that spirit go into your job. That spirit, you want to create stuff and all that. But if your boss is weak-minded, if it is not strong and doesn't recognize the value, you can have some problems.
Absolutely.
When you have more ideas than they do, and people start recognizing that.
Right, and then they start looking at you a little. Start giving you the little side eye. You know what I'm saying?
He's trying to take over.
Right, exactly. You know how that is. So, but they really do. So I want to, in these last 14 minutes or so, I want us to be able to get into, because I know this is going to be something that's really good, something juicy, because I know you always make it juicy on your on your radio show that you taught that you have the Elevation radio show, and I want you to mention that too, when people can actually listen to it, tune in to listen to it and everything. But I want to talk about manhood, and I want to talk about leadership, and I want to talk about it from the perspective of the two books that you have out. And I want you to introduce everybody, tell everybody a little bit about those two books, and then the book signing that you have, so that people can to come out, first of all, this coming Saturday, but then also where they can get the books, and then what the books talk about, and what they mean to you, and how you develop them in writing them, and come to write them and everything.
Okay. I'm going to try to do this in reverse order.
Okay.
Okay. Come on out. My God, drive, swim, parachute your way down here. Go down to Collins Seafood and Grill at 3653 Offut Road, OFFUT Road, in the little shopping center, right past Southern Blues. Come on down to the middle, and you get some great food. You come in to the party room Saturday, March 23rd from 1 to 4, and for just $20, my God, you can get networking opportunities, bring your flyers and your cards and network. You can get awesome food by Chef Dante, an appetizer buffet, soul food. You got it, man. It's incredible. And we won't count the plates that you eat, not until after 30. Yeah, it's all right. And there will be some surprises and gifts. We've got two fantastic MCs, Luana Petaway, directress of New Talent for BET, and Zenobia Sampson, who's the playwright, also the co-host of Jerry Royce Live. As a matter of fact, Jerry Royce and his film crew, will be in the building with the Lakeisha Mosley show. She's going to be there interviewing people and doing selfies, and it's going to be awesome. As I often say, you don't have a criminal record, you can come on out.
Absolutely. And
you get one free copy of one of the books. The first book is The Other Pulpit, Life Lessons of a Leader, which is actually my autobiography and my time that I've spoken recently about my life with my mama, who was really an historic figure here in the city, with the first gospel radio chorus to sing in the state of Maryland. And so she was trying to develop a leader, and I'm trying as hard as I can to fight her on every hand. Yes, indeed. And so we'll see. I think we know who won, but it's some surprising humor in there. I'll just say it is a chapter there talking about her in her usher's uniform walking up the hill. That's priceless. That's priceless. And then we also have the new book, which is called Stormproof. And that is a synopsis, a collection of sermons from me, actually, from God to me, when I was a developing pastor, a young pastor, with trying to develop a urban church in the hood. I mean, talking about the hood. Liberty Heights. Yes, sir.
Yes,
Drug dealers
sir.
everywhere. And so, folks tell me what I can't do, what I should do, and all that. And so I had to listen to what God say do, and go from there. So you see some development, and some of the sermons are. I tried to pick the ones that weren't controversial. Kind of hard to do, but you'll. Some will be enlightened, some will be invigorated, and some might be insulted. I don't know, but you need to come out and check it out. And listen, if you really, Dr. Leroy McKenzie Jr. will be there, because he's my publisher, JNF Enterprises. That's where you get the book at. Got it, man. That's fantastic. And there's some other outlets that you can get the book at. We also, in case you want to be a part of the movement of positivity, that's the Elevation Radio 1 podcast, which has been now going on since April of last year. We talk about just about everything that is something to talk about, and sometimes it's, well, as Mr. McKenzie says, it's cutting edge and highly controversial.
He doesn't hold any punches, y'all. I'm gonna tell you, he definitely does not hold any punches, and that's one of the great things that I do like about you, Pastor, is that you are unashamedly not afraid to ask and ask the questions that need to be asked, but then also holding people accountable that need to be held accountable. And that's what we should be doing as men. And that's part of what manhood is to me, is holding yourself accountable, and then also holding your community accountable, holding your family accountable for those things that need to get done. And if we as men don't stand up and do that, then we can't expect anybody else in the family or in the community to do so, because I honestly believe and the ladies will probably get mad about this or whatever, but the community is only as strong as the man is. How you feel about that, Pastor? How's that for controversy for you tonight?
Well, let's just say this. Oh, my God. Yeah, at this point, I'm having people coming out now. You're going to mess me up. I'll just say this now. You started something. I'll just say this, that if the father could come into the home and do what's necessary to be done, sometimes, let's just put it this way. You have to be strong emotionally as well as physically to handle some of the issues, because
absolutely,
let's be quite frank, with all the biorhythms and the menopause and the emotional issues and the monthly issues, sometimes you wonder, am I in the right place? Is this too much for me? God help me. See, God, I believe, put all the emotions in the woman for a reason. Although there's some emotion, but for a reason, and that is to help you to pray. Keep your knees bent. And there have been days where I said, I'm going to leave this. I'm going to leave my wife. I'm going to leave and roll out. I am gone. I'm out of here. Because no man can take this. So, however, what happened when I got outside, I ready to step off the curb. Once I step off the curb, I'm gone. I'm never coming back. I saw a shadow of her looking out the window like she was probably saying to herself, maybe did I really drive him away this time? But God spoke to me and said, you cannot leave her. I do what I want to. I built her for you. You cannot leave her. Because if you leave her, what will happen to her? Who else is going to protect her like you? Who's going to watch over her like you? Who's going to scratch her back like you? Who's going to do these things? This is your responsibility. So one day I got up to Essex Road and I'll never come back. And he said, turn this car around. And he used the word Negro. Turn this car around and go back to your house, talk to your wife, and reason with her. That's what you got to do. I came back and she wasn't happy. And I need to talk to you. That's just the man part. I need to talk to you now. And whether all that, listen, I understand that we got some issues, but I need to tell you this, that God told me to come back and talk to you because I love you. And we have some issues, but it's going to be all right because there's nothing you can do to chase me away from here. There's nothing you can do to preach it. There's nothing you can do to leave here.
Well, but I think that that's one of the issues that we deal with in our community in this day and time is you have people who are not who are easily give up on things, whether it's relationships, whether it's marriages. They're easy, instead of staying and trying to work things out. Everybody at the first sign of trouble wants to, just say, you know what, throw their hands up and say, forget about it. I'm done with it. As opposed to saying, like you just said, staying and saying, you know what, this is worth fighting for. This is worth working at, so that we give it our best effort and everything like that. And I think that that's something that's missing. I think that's something that's missing with men in this day and time. Not only some older men, but even the younger generation that hasn't been equipped. Honestly, I feel they haven't been equipped to understand what it takes to make a marriage, what it takes to have a marriage that lasts throughout those tough times. Because I don't know any marriage that doesn't have tough times.
Well, I think societal wise, we as African Americans, that's what I'm caring about right now, is to the point where the mainstream of Dr. Spock and Pleasure and the daytime soap operas and child support, and not just child support, but social services, and has created a vacuum where you want a paradise, you want a princess mode, if a man can't talk to his father, if the father is not being responsible, then how can he pass the generation of things of teaching on? That's one thing. And then sometimes you can learn from what the father is not doing and say, I will never do that again. I will never be the father because he's doing this, he's doing that. But if only person in the home is mama, like it was, then mama, my mother never brought a man to sleep over at night. I get married when I was a grown adult. That impressed me. Okay, when I woke up and I brought the bacon and eggs, I heard her singing hymns. She wasn't, shaking fast and doing that kind of stuff. She had integrity and in class, and so she demanded that I treat her that way, even to the end.
Right.
So even if you don't have the resources, you can still have God.
Absolutely.
So,
So that, I mean, and that's key. That's key that we have to understand that, and that's something that I think that those lessons that you talk about in your book, the pulpit, that you learn from your mother, those are things that we need to take, and we should, as adults, we need to be pouring into our kids, our kids and our grandkids, so that they in turn get those lessons that we got, because I honestly believe that that's why the gap has gotten wider between our parents' generation and then our generation and then the generation behind us. That gap is steadily gotten wider because what I call us, the now generation, has not taken the time to develop our children, to instill in them what we learned from our parents and our grandparents. I think too many men, too many women are too busy trying to be, in this day and time, are too busy trying to be their kid's friend versus being their parent. And something just really quickly, and then we're gonna have to close this out. But yesterday in my at church, my pastor's sermon, he talked about being a first generation thinking versus second generation thinking, right? And he put it in this context. He said the first generation thinking, they asked the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? He said the second generation way of thinking or thinker is asking your kids, not asking your kids, but asking your grandkids, and maybe even your kids too, but asking them, what problem do you want to solve? So I took that as if you're going to be, we need to have this second generation way of thinking and mindset now when it comes to the community, when it comes to development, when it comes to manhood. And when we do that and we start to think about the problems that we can solve, then we work on the family, we work on education, we work on the government, we work on being entrepreneurs, we work on the church being better. All of those aspects of our lives become totally, we see them totally different, when we do that. So being that second generation thinker, or what I call the 21st century way of thinking, and I think that you do that, you address some of those things, not only in the life lessons of a leader, because you talk about leadership, and you take those lessons have to be passed down, from one generation to the next. And then even when you get into your second book with the with the Stormproof, showing people how they become able to make it through whatever situations that they're going through, how to handle them. That's part of understanding being a leader, is how do you become able to deal with certain situations? Because if you aren't equipped, if your parents don't equip you, like you talked about your mother doing certain things with you, giving you the discipline and everything like that, and me as well, with my dad, with my mom, the discipline that they instilled in us, we in turn would not be the men that we are in this day. And then in turn be able to teach, our kids those same morals, values, and everything else, and the importance of that. I'm gonna let you finish that out, and then we're gonna close out for the evening. Okay.
I have another suggestion for you. A third thought.
Okay.
Plus, I was thinking the other day after hearing some preachers preach yesterday. I was thinking because it was Men's Day, and one preacher preached, "Let's go to work." you haven't done that.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What I was thinking was, God, what does it take for me to become a friend of yours, like you said Abraham was? God, what does it take for me to become a man after your own heart, like David was? What do I got to get to that level where God is happy with me?
Right.
None of this else really actually matters if God is not happy with you. And so no matter what you've done in the past, done in the future, you can get God happy with you. Now come the pastor side. Because if you give God your heart, then God will be happy with you.
Absolutely.
And everything will be added unto you.
Absolutely. And I think that's a great way to close out. Now I want you to give your contact information for anyone that wants to hire you as the musician to come out and the on-call organist, as well as give everybody again the information for the book signing coming up this coming Saturday. Okay.
Okay, fantastic. I've got two websites for the on-call organist. That's www.theoncallorganist.org, theoncallorganist.org, and www.aworldofpraises.com. You can call the number at 410-302-2737 or our office line at 410-288-8788. And again, the Elevation Radio, www.elevationradio1.info. We will actually be at Collins Seafood, God help us, God willing, at 3653 Offutt Road, Offutt Road, Offutt Road in Marylandstown, Maryland, 21117, from 1 to 4, military time, 1,300 hours.
And if they want to pre-order the books?
If you want to pre-order the book, you can contact Dr. Leroy McKenzie Jr. at www.jnfenterprises.com. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Got it right. Thank God.
As well as you can email us too at jnfenterprises@yahoo.com as well.
That'll work. That'll work. And so, listen, come out and shake my hand. Come out and give a hug to Dr. Leroy McKenzie Jr. You can't hug me, but you can shake my hand. My wife makes me jealous. Shout out to my wife, Leora Turner, who is the backbone of this organization. God bless you so much.
Absolutely.
Hey, so, you might meet my daughter there. One of my daughters there, too.
Mm-hmm. I want to thank you. Thank you for joining us tonight. The conversation is always with you is always enjoyable. So I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to be able to come and talk to us tonight. Y'all know how we do. This is the Brand New Development Series with Black Professional Men and JNF Enterprises. You know what our mission is. Our mission is to secure the future of the African American male. We want to enlighten, empower, and impact you. That's how we do. This is what we do. Y'all know 2019, we're all about chasing the impact. That's what we do. Come on out this coming Saturday from 1 to 4, Collins Seafood Grill Restaurant. Meet the pastor, definitely get one of his books, get both of his books, do some networking, a great opportunity to do some networking as well, grab some great food, have some great fellowship. We look forward to seeing y'all there. Y'all know we'll see you next month, the third Monday, the Brand New Development Series. We appreciate y'all and we'll see y'all next time. Thank you.